Kathy. Welcome to the Colorful Homeschooler Podcast, where we parlay on productivity, personality, passions, education, and theory. I'm a lover of Jesus, a wife of 20 years, and a homeschool mama of 4 special needs boys who keep me constantly active. I'm so glad you're here to join me. Pull up a chair. There's space for you at this table. Welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. So, in my last episode, I hope you joined me for our end-of-year journaling reflection. I like to look back, learn, reflect, see the Lord's hand prior to working on goals for this year. And hey, Happy New Year, 2025. Where's my flying car and all that? When does Rosie make my pancakes in the morning? You know what I mean? Let's hear it, kids of the 80s. Barring any homebound robots or aeronautical engines, it feels crazy to be in a new year. How does this new year feel to you? I hope you're greeting it with hope and excitement, a tabula rasa. I wanted to share my goals with you mainly because, like another podcaster I listen to, I just love to hear other people's goals, so maybe somebody will want to hear mine. Plus, accountability is important. Always share your goals with others so they can encourage you along your way. Not with somebody who's going to be judgmental or harsh, but someone who will encourage you, hold you accountable, push you to the things that sometimes you don't have the strength to push yourself for. Gather those people around you. So, where do I keep my goals? In episode 1, I spoke about how important it is to always keep your goals in a place where you will often see them. So I keep mine in a few places. I shared before that I always make an artistic poster that I hang in my laundry room. It has my word of the year in the center, often with an inspiring picture or inspiring lettering. Then my goal domains will branch out from that center. I also keep a listing of them in my journal. This year, I'm toying with the idea of also writing or possibly making another artistic design for the upstairs in my room. I'm back and forth on this, though. I feel like it may be helpful for me to see them in the morning and at night as well. Harness that brain priming capability of setting those intentions at night to better affect the next day that I spoke about in my podcast on choosing your word for the year. So I'll share some posts on Instagram of where I am setting these goal lists and what my artistic goal poster looks like in my laundry room. Hopefully it will be inspiring to you. How do I think of goals? Well, they are important to me. They help me centralize myself on priorities so that I can get many things done and have that full productive life that I prefer having. However, I do recognize that some of them just don't get done. I'm okay with that. I don't mind rolling some over. Others, I'm okay with tabling for now. I may keep them on a long-range goal list, or I may totally let them go. I do go after my goals in a pretty disciplined manner, focused manner. Don't get me wrong, but I do go after some more intensely than others, and that balancing act is part of what helps me to be okay if I don't complete them. I also recognize that a year of life may prevent certain things from getting done. Make this inspiring to you, not a noose around your neck. My goal domains this year are the same as last year. They are personal, household, creative work, homeschool, and family. A few of my goals did cross over to this new year. Some because I don't feel like it's quite habitual yet. Like it's in the works, but I don't feel like I fully mastered it. Others because they just didn't get the attention they needed this year. I just read an article from Myers-Briggs on my INFJ personality type. I get one each week, and it'll give me journaling prompts and some information about my personality type. I don't always read them. I'm pretty terrible with emails, but sometimes I do. And this one mentioned how INFJs are most likely to have goals that roll over onto next year's list. It postulated that this was because we tend to go for deeper, more long-lasting goals that require more time or greater thought, greater emotion. And I see this with some of my goals, definitely. But others I just lost steam on, and that's okay. Either way, we'll get right to it. First, when you're setting goals, it's important to pray over them. Now, during the brainstorming session where you're going through your domains and thinking of what you want to improve on, thinking who you want to be at the end of the year, those are questions I ask myself. Where do I want to be in my home? What are the main things I want to change? Is there an organizational thing I want to fix that I want to have a whole year to break down into smaller tasks? Things like that. So as you're going through that, pray first, pray during, and pray after. Remember, a whole year is a long time. So a lot can get done, but a lot happens also. So make sure that you are going into the new year with the Lord. Just like I talked about reflecting back upon last year with Jesus, you want to make sure to look ahead into next year with Jesus. He knows all things that are going to happen, and He wants what's best for us. So it's important that you invite Him along on the goal journey as well. And quite often I spend time throughout the year just praying over whichever of the broken down pieces of my goals I am working on currently. Asking the Lord, is this right now? Lord, help me to have the strength to continue. Thank you for all this energy and excitement about this goal. Thank you for walking alongside me during the difficult times in each goal. So include the Lord as much as you can, and that will give you greater success than you ever dreamed because they're His goals for you also. So, my goals. My smallest list this year is under homeschool. This is definitely not always the case, but the two things I have on there are heavy hitters, and I capitalize this in my script because they are pretty weighty. So I'm giving them ample space to take a lot of my attention. Those two are to graduate my eldest, my firstborn, and to finish homeschooling strong with him. It feels crazy and weighty and huge that I'm graduating my first child. I'm going to have a podcast a few weeks in the future about what last semester, senior year of a boy I have homeschooled, my oldest child, is feeling like, what I'm focusing on, what I need to do still, what I've already completed, things like that. I hope that that's inspiring to you to keep going. But I need to inspire myself to finish strong. So that's why it's on my list. Second goal in this domain is to plan high school for my thirdborn. He has an eye out for USAFA, or the United States Air Force Academy. Now, of course, this can change through the course of high school, but he's pretty solid on it right now. So I will need to check all of the requirements at this school to make sure that we're hitting the mark for him. Now, this isn't a huge concern. My firstborn was done with most of his credits at the beginning of senior year. So I've planned pretty well, and I've executed a good plan for my oldest child who's graduating this year. However, with a specific school in mind, I think it's probably pretty smart to get in touch with them, go over requirements, speak with an admissions counselor, and really look ahead so that I set him up for the most success that he can have. I need to make sure and plan his high school to fit him, right? Isn't that why we homeschool everyone? Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that. This is not a cookie cutter education. This is individualized. He is a different student than my oldest. So I can't just take the high school plan that I already came up with and use it for my third. So that's a big plan for the beginning half of this year. And then I'll start his high school in September. Crazy. Creative work and household domains each have 4 under them. So let's go through those one by one. In creative work, I want to be posting on Instagram at least twice a week by quarter 3. I've found it hard so far to keep up my Instagram posting, as well as writing, recording, editing, and brainstorming, as well as heavy research for this podcast. This is a lot of work, my friends. Hopefully it's providing some benefit to you. Hopefully it is blessing you. And hopefully you feel that the content I'm coming out with is fitting what you want to hear and be encouraged by. Remember to share it with a friend. Next, I want to create at least 10 digital products for sale in my Etsy shop throughout the year. I've created a holiday planner, but that's strictly seasonal, so that time usefulness is done until next year. I have some fun ideas for other products that I'd like to offer to you, my community, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to see. Are there any planning or homeschooling tools that would be helpful to you? Let me know. My third goal is to establish a consistent creative practice. In my year-end reflection, I noticed that I ran out of steam on my creative goals pretty heavily. So I really ruminated on this and realized that it is all due to not having a consistent creative practice. When I boil it down to its most important element, that's it. So my goal for this year is to set up a time for myself to work on painting, sketching, mixed media, patterning, but any type of creative work. I've actually wanted to learn how to dye fabric from natural processes, from different vegetables and things like that. Plus, I also grew certain plants in my garden last year specifically to be able to dye with the seeds or the petals of those and then pick them and dry them, and they're all in huge jars. And I'm not doing it. I'm not learning it. So again, that would be put into that consistent creative practice spot. Hopefully I can work that out. That is a big goal for myself this year. I need to exercise my creativity, and when I don't, it gets bottled up. Now, this podcast is offering a lot of creativity to me, but not visually. So I really want to get better at that in my life. And finally, I want to learn all that I need to in order to execute this idea I have for wall art made by me in our downstairs bathroom. So last year we had a flood that destroyed 2 bathrooms in my house, as well as portions of other rooms as well. We redid the downstairs bath in such a way as to really reflect us. It's brightly colored. It has beautiful detailed elements to it. If you know me, you know that details are the most important thing to my visual desire. I've sketched a few flowers that will look amazing in there, but in order to achieve the effect that I want, I think I need to learn to laser cut, and I definitely need to learn to upgrade my Adobe Illustrator skills in order to import my piece and color it the way I want it. So that's a multifaceted goal that I'll have to break down into smaller pieces. That's why the big goal goes on my yearly goal list, and the smaller broken down goals go on a monthly or quarterly list. I spoke about that in podcast 1, how to break them up. In case you haven't heard that one, go ahead back, and hopefully that will be helpful to you. My household domain includes things like organizational tasks, gardening, redos of a room or a decorating goal, things like that. The 4 goals I honed in on for this year specifically are, first, to organize and purge my paper corners. You know the ones. As my friend said in episode 7, the ones where papers go to die. I have 3 that I need to get through, and I really need to Marie Kondo that paperwork. Do I truly need it still? Can I just thank it for its presence in my life and then get rid of it? I struggle to get rid of papers sometimes. Why? I can't stand clutter. But these 3 areas in my house, they're small, they're not large, but they need to be cleaned up. I'm so tired of the lack of organization in these areas. And also, I feel like because it's not organized, it keeps me from using the paperwork that may be usable immediately because it's just too much to go through. Anyone else do this? In like matter, I want to organize my digital files as my second goal on my several devices. I still have some preschool files floating around and clogging up space, so this is sorely overdue. I also have it on my TBR list to read Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte, and I believe this has some excellent suggestions on maintaining digital clutter. I'm excited to read that. I've heard so much about it, and I feel like it's going to bring a lot of help in certain areas for me. The third goal in the household domain is to redo our garage. We've been renting a storage unit in order to provide my children with a quiet therapy space in one section of our 3-car garage. The storage place has raised its rates several times, and the kids just don't use the room anymore. So we have some plans to sell off the equipment, purchase a few more mature items, get rid of our storage unit, and properly get all of that organized in the available areas of our home without cluttering our home up in any way. So again, a large task with many smaller pieces. That's why it goes on the yearly list, and then I break it down into monthly or quarterly goals. Finally, under the household domain is to rebuild my garden soil, as well as my one indoor tree. So I may need to cover crop certain beds. I also need to crop rotate other beds and plan this out for the next 3 years. Last year was a very successful year in some of my beds, and others just had nothing left to give. I get that, garden beds. I really do. So I want to give them some TLC. I'm going to learn even more about rebuilding the soil. I've taken a couple classes and I've read a few books on this, but I still want to make sure that I fully understand it. And then I want to implement the best course of action to help the soil in each of my garden beds. My family domain has 5 goals this year. I'm rolling over an individual desire to go out with each of my boys one-on-one at least once a quarter. This was on my goals list to do once a month last year. Yikes. It didn't happen for several months in a row. I got frustrated, I felt guilty, so I didn't complete it for more months, and then I was overwhelmed because it had been so long. Just nonsense. So I've made this a more realistic once per quarter with each boy, and I'll adjust it halfway through the year if I meet that and feel like I could do a little bit more. I do that with myself, and that has worked in times past, so I'm excited to try and implement this successfully this year. I also have a therapy goal for one of my boys to find a new therapist and get on the wait lists so that he can be in therapy sometime this year. I research their therapies extensively, and then I really search for the right provider, so this can be an exhausting process for me. As a result of this truth, I've put this off for this child for a little while, and it's time to bite the bullet and get to it. So pray for me. I also want to choose and read at least 3 books on compassion parenting. Some ways, ladies and gents, they get stale after years, you know? And I've been battling some parent burnout this year. That's true and vulnerable of me, but it's been an up and down roller coaster with some of my boys, and I need some fresh inspiration. I could use an infusion of new ideas. I was recommended to the book 5 Love Languages for Teens, so that will be one of my first that I read in this category. It was recommended by somebody whose opinion I really trust, so thank you, and I will be reading that. Finally, and this is a fun one, is we are taking a large family trip to Disney World in May. Whoop, whoop. I need to plan for this. I'm definitely the planner for Disney. We've been twice before as a family, and I won't fully admit that there were color-coded maps, but we hardly waited on any lines, and we nailed every ride we wanted to go to, and we've gone during some of the busiest times of the year, so it's seldom that I allow myself a pat on the back, but I did a pretty good job with Disney the last 2 times. Plus, there are so many new things there. My head's going to explode if I don't plan something, so I need to really dive in and plan this. I have had smaller pieces of this that had to be executed last year, but now I need to break this down by month so I can succeed in planning another great Disney trip for my family. We're so excited. We can only afford to go about every 6 years, so we save the year prior as well as bank all of our airline miles for 6 years to travel for free. It's a huge undertaking, but it is so worth it. I'm so excited, and the fact that this is my eldest's graduation year, what a way to end my first homeschooling full journey. Crazy. Okay, so we're on our last domain, personal. This typically doesn't have as many as the other more practical-based domains, but this year it tops them all out with 8. Maybe I don't want to think too much about why this is. So I'll tell you about 6 of them. First, I have to investigate the time of life that I'm in as a woman. Perimenopause has begun, so I need to look into supplements, energy, nutrition, my brain, my fitness, natural aids for some of the symptoms I'm experiencing. I need to set intentions of how I'm going to greet this new time and execute those intentions. Ladies, we need to be aware of and support one another through our life changes, right? And guys, use language that is supportive to the women in your life when different times of change begin. All the changes. Our hormones are a beast, but they are also used by the Lord to create life. The planet would have stopped at Adam and Eve once they were kicked out of the garden if it wasn't for our hormones. We can all be a lot kinder to them and support each other a lot better. And watch the language we use towards perimenopause and menopause. We women are valuable and precious and amazing through all the phases of our life. So ladies, I'm here for you. And I'll be doing a ton of research this year to learn more about this new stage that I'm entering. I kept my goal this year to drink at least a half gallon to 3/4 gallon a day of water. It was on my goal list last year, and I don't feel like it's become habitual yet. It is so important to me as an athlete, as a mama, and someone who's nutrition conscious. So I need this to be habitual before I fully remove it and just count it as part of my daily life cycle. Okay, I just got a beautiful reading tracker for Christmas, finally, from my baby sister. I've wanted one for years in order to track the books that I read and have it as a keepsake. I also have one for films. I'm somewhat of a cinephile, love the Oscars every year, and I'm hopeful that I can continue to do that for a long time. So I kept this goal as well from last year, since I got the implements but never started actually doing it. Yikes. I'm excited to actually begin. I'm going to store the 2 books in easy-to-access places where I watch or read so I don't have to go find them when I finish a book or film. I really want to ensure that this starts, Ease of access. This is another thing I spoke about in episode 1. I want to fully complete my doula certification this year. I need to doula 2 more live births and get a doctor's or midwife's review in order to complete my certification. So if you know anyone who needs a doula, let's help each other out. I love being a doula. I love being compassionately present for the mama during childbirth, to give her a birth that is lovely and as much at ease as it can be, to fill her with confidence, and I'm pretty good at getting people into weird positions that wind up being fantastically comfortable. So if you know anyone, let's help each other. 2 more. I want to work on my self-care. Ladies, we are collectively terrible at this, and I am at the head of the pack. I want to see what works and schedule a consistent practice of this. When I break this down into smaller goals, they may look like maybe scheduling to try 2 different kinds of self-care per month and making sure they happen. This, of course, needs my husband's support at times, so roping him in on it is important as well. Another goal is that I want to get better at using one of my son's incentive charts for the goals that he is working on. I'm so bad at reward charts or habit trackers. Those potty ones when my kids were little, they just didn't get done. You would think this would be an ace in the hole for me, but I'm not actually sure what the disconnect is. I do struggle to stay with them for very long, but these incentive charts for him are important. He's working on some pretty big behaviors, and they need that extra support. So I really want to get better at keeping them. So that's it, everyone. No overarching fitness or spiritual goals this year. No number of books I want to read specifically. Feels weird, but I have a pretty consistent practice with those 3 things. I continue to get stronger in different ways, and I'm pretty happy there. Maybe with fitness, I'm a little wounded that I let go of my fitness goals last year and changed them mid-year, did something totally different, but I don't think so. I think I'm pretty proud of myself with what I accomplished last year, even though I had to pay attention to my body and learn a couple new things about the way that I was reacting to certain fitness options. I'll have to think about it. I plan on having smaller time-bound fitness goals, but I'll check back in with you on those. Does this feel like a lot to you? It does keep me focused on the important things and keeps me from saying yes to too many things. I don't want to burn out. I don't want you to burn out. So this goal list is priorities, intentions. And as I said at the top of the episode, I'm kind to myself with my goals. My word of the year, which I talked about in episode 6, my word is luminesce. This means to emit light by luminescence, which is a process that produces light without being heated, from the inside, from light created inside your body by the Lord. I pray that all I do will shine His light into your lives, mine, all around me. This word, the process by which I come up with it, I discussed in episode 6. It will provide intentionality for my year. As I said before, I will share my artistic goal rendering on my Instagram account. Share yours, tag Colorful Homeschooler, inspire others. Thank you to all of my listeners. Follow the show. There are new episodes every Tuesday. Please leave me 5 stars and a written review wherever you are listening to it. Share it with a friend. Let me know how you like it and if there are any topics you want discussed. I've got some good ones coming up. Next week, we will go over several winter nature study ideas and ways to implement them, as well as a listing of several of the resources that I am using or have used in the past. Now, this is not only good for homeschoolers, but for anyone who loves to spend time in nature and learn some new things. I also have plans to do one on the actual books that I use to track and inspire myself and keep records on. And then one, as I said before, on how I am greeting and trying to excel in this very last semester of my oldest's homeschooling journey. Remember, everyone, I believe in you.